It is our very great pleasure to be able to bring you this very timely, I think, Lose That Lockdown Weight webinar session, because obviously as restrictions are easing and the world is sort of hopefully getting back to some kind of pre-pandemic normal, whatever that's going to look like for the various individuals and however comfortable people are with all of that, it does bring with it maybe some sort of responsibility to look at oneself and say, have I been eating a little bit much, too many cakes, something like that. Before we get on to that, though, I've got a few parish notices. This is a Zoom webinar. We have taken absolutely every care possible to try to make this as anonymous as possible in terms of patient data and attendee data. It should be stressed that this is an open webinar, and in no way does anyone's attendance of this webinar indicate their HIV status one way or the other. This is not open just to people living with HIV, but people who are HIV negative, as well as people who work in the field of HIV research and care as well. So there's a whole range of people here, and no inferences can be drawn about anyone's status just because they are attending this webinar. All the way through this evening, we've got two guest speakers. I'm going to introduce Gaynor Lawrenson in a moment, who's going to do a little bit of talk about what this is all about. But while our guest speakers are giving their presentations, you will have the opportunity as participants and attendees here tonight to ask questions using, if you wouldn't mind, the Q&A function. So depending on what kind of device you're using, there should be a Q&A button somewhere around on your screen. If you click on that, it should open up a little pop-up window which will give you the opportunity to type in a question. If you would like to, and if it matters to you, if your anonymity is important for your comfort here tonight, then there is an option there before you press send to say send anonymously. And if you do that, we don't even get to see whoever's name is on your Zoom window. We don't even get to see that. No details are being saved or stored by us here at the Bloomsbury Network tonight. The only information that will be taken, and again not by us, is obviously you've given an email address to the Zoom function for this. That's just going to be used once at the end to deliver a little survey, which is a feedback survey. And as far as I'm aware, as far as I know for sure, that information will be completely disposed of once that email has been sent to you at the end of that. That's really important to us, so if you wouldn't mind filling in the survey and sending it back to us. It just takes like a little poll. You click on a link, answer a few questions. It'll take less than 2 minutes of your time, and it's really useful for us because we very much feel that the Bloomsbury Network is your network, and it's your voice that counts. So it's your voice that wants to be heard. We're just the spokespeople for it. So that's going to be happening throughout. You can ask your questions at any point. We won't necessarily be answering them straight away. We'll wait until the panelist speaker has finished their presentation before we then start working through the questions that have been asked. I'm saying this now so that if there's anything that's being said during the presentations which triggers a question in your mind, then by all means ask it straight away while it's fresh in your mind, and then you won't forget what you wanted to say when it comes around to that. Again, on confidentiality, this webinar is being recorded. You were probably all alerted to that fact as you joined the webinar with a computer-generated voice telling you so. We hopefully will be posting the broadcast on our YouTube channel, the Bloomsbury Network channel, because obviously it's a very warm night. Not necessarily everybody who would like to benefit or could benefit from this evening's information will be able to be here tonight. So to give a sort of a longevity and greater reach, which is very important to us as well, we'll be putting it up on our YouTube channel. So if that is causing anyone any problems, by all means feel free to absent yourself from the webinar and maybe catch up and watch it later on. But as I said, no personal information will be used during the webinar, and we don't save any of that either. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So without further ado, I would like to hand you over to Gaynor Lawrenson, who is going to explain a little bit more about what we've got. Gaynor, can I ask you to unmute yourself and switch on your camera? There she is.
Hello everybody, and thank you Nathan for introducing the evening. I just want to say hello to everybody and hope you're enjoying the sunshine, but also looking after yourselves and drinking plenty. It's so hot. We've been struggling in the office all day as well, so as most people will be at home. So some of you probably know me. My name's Gaynor, and I've just started in the specialist nursing team here at Bloomsbury, so it's my second week. And before this, I was you might have seen me running up and down the stairs. I was a research nurse with the UCL department here on the 4th floor. And yeah, so you might see me in the future face to face or on the virtual clinics. So hello and welcome. So why, the content of tonight, what we've got are two brilliant speakers. And we've got Agnes, who's one of the HIV specialist nurses here in Multiple Market Centre. She's also a hepatitis specialist nurse, and she's got a special interest in fatty liver. So she's going to be presenting a session on fatty liver, what it is, and also what we can do to kind of help our livers. We've also got Victoria Brown, who's a positive health coordinator at the YMCA. And some of you might have seen her if you've been, if you've previously gone to the gym there as well. And she's going to present a session on how to start exercising safely without being overwhelmed by it, and talk about what exercise is good for fatty liver and dietary factors as well. As Nathan said, he's going to kindly chair the event, introducing the speakers and taking questions at the end. So why tonight's session? Well, as Nathan said, probably most of us in the world have been comfort eating over the past 12 to 18 months. It's been a really tough year for everybody in many different ways. You're probably all aware of that. Most people coming into clinic at the moment as well, that certainly I've been seeing, and most of my colleagues have been seeing, have put on an extra few pounds, and they feel a little bit overwhelmed about what to do about this, how to start getting back on a healthy diet, and also how to start exercising as well. And I know for myself, I used to really love exercise, but I have gone back to the gym, but I feel a little bit apprehensive about some sessions like spinning, because you're breathing 10 times heavier than you would normally. So there's all those factors to kind of think about as well. So we would have really loved to have done this session tonight face to face, and have a bit of a social kind of element to it, and have lots of nice food, healthy food, and demonstrations about like some brief exercises that you could do to start exercising. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that, and probably not for a little while as well. But as soon as we can, we'd love to start getting people in again for these sessions, because I think people really enjoy the social element of it. In clinic as well, we're also seeing more people with fatty liver. And to be honest with you, I only really learned about fatty liver when I started working here. It wasn't something I'd really learnt much about in previous roles as a nurse or health advisor. And I really got to know about fatty liver whilst I was working on a trial here called MAVMET, which was the fatty liver trial. And it was one that Professor Sarah Pett she was the chief investigator of this. And it was quite an interesting study. It was basically recruiting people who'd got elements of fatty liver, so raised liver function tests or fatty liver on ultrasound scan, or fibro scan as well. And what we did was we looked at 4 different strands of the clinical trial. So we recruited people, and they were either assigned to stay on their normal ART with no other intervention, be on their normal ART with the addition of metformin, which is a diabetes drug, stay on their ART and have the addition of referral, which was an old kind of HIV fusion inhibitor drug that we don't really use very often, and then a combination of all 3, so metformin, referral and ART. And the patients had an MRI scan of their full body at the start, and then at the end as well, at the end of a year, to see if there are any changes. Now, I don't think Professor Pett is out there with the results yet, but she's kindly agreed to feedback the results of this in November when she's free. So we'll keep on at that, and that'll be really good. She's an excellent speaker. Excuse me a mo, I'm really dry. Okay, so also obesity and fatty liver is a really hot topic at the moment. you kind of miss things on the TV about you know, what's happening with waste food, and then food poverty on the other hand as well. And we know that 1 in 4 adults in the UK and 1 in 5 children aged 10 to 11 are obese, and this is expected to rise as well. And we know the problems associated with this are type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, fatty liver, etc. And the projections are that by 2035 to 2036, type 2 diabetes is projected to cost the NHS about 15 billion a year, or 1.5 times as much as cancer does today. So that's a massive increase. And that's what, about 12 years? No, I can't count. It's a few years away. Interestingly as well, at the moment, I think it was announced last week as well, that there's a national food strategy that's been published, and it's based on a report that was commissioned by the government, and it's written by Henry Dimbleby, which I didn't know this, but he's a co-founder of the Leon Restaurants, and he's also in the Sustainable Restaurant Association as well. So he's published this report, which is really, really good. And I'll give Nathan the link later as well, in case any of you want to access that. It's really easy to read. And it's got the kind of crux of it all is that it's got recommendations to stop this junk food cycle, basically, and protect the NHS. Some of the recommendations are, you might have heard this as well, it's to introduce a sugar and salt tax on food. There's help for low-income families to get fresh fruit and veg. And I think they're talking about GPs as well, having the ability to prescribe this for families. There's an Eat and Learn initiative for schools as well, to kind of, you know, let school children know what's healthy eating and what they can do to kind of be healthy as well. And also extended eligibility for free school meals and children's holiday activities and food programs for the next 3 years. Also as well, on the back of that, they're aiming to help farmers make the best use of their land as well, to make it more sustainable. So it's kind of tackling a few different areas really in health policy. So I think it'd be really interesting to see what the government kind of takes up with that. And also, I don't know whether anyone saw the recent BBC documentary. I think it was on about a week or two ago. I think you can get it on BBC Catch Up. And it showed Dr. Chris Van Tullochen increasing his normally like 30% diet of ultra processed foods to 80%, because he wanted to see what kind of was happening with children as well, but he didn't obviously want his children to do this. He wanted to do it himself. And just to explain as well, ultra processed food, there's some healthy ultra processed food and some really unhealthy ultra processed food. The healthier is, if I give an example of, you've got a can of chopped tomatoes. Okay, it is processed, but it's kind of healthy. That a really ultra processed unhealthy version of that would be a can of pasta sauce, because in there you'd have dozens of ingredients, preservatives and additives as well. Okay, so basically he put on, this is amazing, he put on a stone in 4 weeks, just changing to that heavily processed diet. And the experts, I think, on that program as well thought that if he continued with that, he'd probably maintain severe weight gain and maybe put on another 6 stone within another 6 months' time. So it's quite scary, really. And this type of diet is typically eaten by about 1 in 5 people. It's addictive, and people need to eat more of it to get that lovely feeling that we get when we get those junk foods, you know, the convenience foods that we buy from the supermarket. And I suppose it's really difficult trying to change our habits as well, because if you're working long hours, or if you're a parent working long hours as well, the last thing you want to do when you get back from work or having a heavy day is then start preparing everything from scratch, with kids running around who want snacks or who want, you know, their chicken burgers or whatever. So it's really difficult, and we're not, you know, we've all got our habits and cruxes as well with food. And these foods are easy, you know, that it's easier to put something in the oven straight away and heat it up. Some healthier foods are expensive, like if you look at broccoli or raspberries, things like that, compared to, you know, sausages or bacon or something like that. And as well, in the supermarkets, there always seems to be deals on those really unhealthy foods, like buy two get one free, and it's never really on fruit and veg. It's always on the junk food, really. So it's really hard, and you're not alone with this if you think you fit that criteria as well. And I'm just hoping that the food strategy might change this. So yeah, I'll give the link to Nathan in a minute and have a look at that. It's very easy to read. So before I go, good news for the future here at Bloomsbury Clinic. We're going to be getting a dietitian, and I'm not sure kind of how that's going to be, if it's going to be one session a week or anything else. It's just in slow kind of, it's in the initial stages at the moment, but that's really, really good news, because we can focus on more on people's well-being around diet and healthy eating, exercise, things like that. And I think that's probably all from me. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Nathan, but please enjoy the session and give any feedback as well for things that we could change or things that you'd like to hear in the future. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much for that. That's a really, really useful and interesting overview of the state of where we are really in this country with regards to the food that we eat. I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody else when it comes to the ease of convenience food. I do love a sausage. I was horrified that you mentioned sausages there in the unhealthy category. It's one of my favourite things. However, that said, my husband and I were doing some shopping only yesterday, and we decided we were going to get a whole load of fruit and veg for salad because it's so hot and we didn't want any hot food. And not only did we realise just quite how easy it is to buy a whole heap of decent salad ingredients and get a couple of, some olive oil and some balsamic vinegar and maybe a drizzle of honey, nothing that's completely over processed and much, much healthier for us. But also we realised just how much cheaper it is to bake a potato for 30 pence rather than buy a portion of chips for £1. These things are not only good for our health, but they're often can be good for our wallets as well, as long as you shop smart and eat smart. So I'm hoping that we're going to get lots of information about how we can do just that tonight, as well as tailoring that information not just from the broad scope of what we as a species need, but what we as people living with HIV can benefit from as well. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to the first of our panelists tonight, which is Agnes Kemper, Agnes to most of us, who started her nursing career 15 years ago and has lots of nursing experience globally, working as a specialist nurse in HIV and viral hepatitis here at the Bloomsbury Clinic. And for the past 4 years, Agnes has worked alongside hepatitis consultants doing Fibro Scans that measure the amount of fat in the liver, which is a diagnostic tool that assesses liver health. So Agnes, I don't want to ask any questions or steer you, because I know you're ready with your presentation ready to go. So without further ado, over to you.
Hi, my name is Agnes. I'm one of the specialized nurses, and I'm sure a lot of you has seen me during the clinic. I was doing the Fibro Scan clinic. There is some changes. I will mention this later in my presentation. So what I will talk to you, how happened that we have a fatty liver, the function of liver, and how we diagnose fatty liver and how we manage it. Fatty liver is basically result of buildup of fat inside liver cells, and that can lead to liver damage, but it can be reversed by lifestyle changes like healthy diet and physical activities. If left untreated, fatty liver can cause long-term liver damage like scarring of the liver, which we call it cirrhosis, and then what we call fibrosis, and when it's more advanced, then we call this cirrhosis, and that stops the liver to work properly. So we have 3 types of fatty liver. The first one is not alcoholic fatty liver. So that mostly is through high BMI, if someone is obese and has a high weight. So to begin, when you have an alcoholic fatty liver, we call that NAFLD, and basically means that you have an excess of fat in your fatty cell, in your liver cells, and it's just sitting there and it's not doing nothing, so it's fine. But then if that doesn't change, this excess of fat could lead to inflammation, and this inflammation will cause scarring on the liver, and this is what we call NASH. And to diagnose that, you have to have a liver biopsy to make sure that we dealing with that. Then another type is alcoholic fatty liver disease. When someone consumes 30 grams of alcohol for men or 20 alcohol or above for women, and that's not that much alcohol how you will think, because 8 grams is 1 unit of alcohol. So basically, later I have a slide about the units to understand this better. And the complication of alcoholic fatty liver is steatohepatitis, ASH, which means that you have the inflammation and there is some scarring. And then is the combination of the two. So the cause of fatty liver, there could be some side effects from the medication. Very rarely is this caused from antiretrovirus. This can be running in the family. The mostly cause is obesity. But if someone is obese all over, that of course can lead to fatty liver. But the number one is when someone gain weight on the belly. So if someone has a belly, a sticking belly, as bigger that is, then more you will think that could be fatty liver. So even though your hands, your legs and everything is quite normal, but only the belly, that can already be risk that someone can have a fatty liver. Diabetes can be a cause as well, and raise lipids like cholesterol. What sometimes happen as well, that everything starts from the fatty liver. So first someone put on weight or through the alcohol develop fatty liver, and then because of that we see raise of blood pressure, then we see raise of the cholesterol, and then that start with diabetes. That is just if no intervention is done and it's progress. So in any age, everyone can develop fatty liver. Is more common for people older than 50 years old. And it's more common in men than women. However, it can affect everyone in any age, even children. So now kids who are not sticking to the diet, they are in, and they obese, they in danger to develop fatty liver as well. So it's not that much age related, is more related basically the factors like what you do if you drink too much, if you obese, if you're putting on weight. That's the factor which leading to fatty liver. So the main stages of NAFL, and NAFL was this normal fatty liver in cells basically. So first you have, like I mentioned it before, you have just only fat in your liver, we cause this NAFL, and then you have this inflammation in your liver, which we call NASH. So when we are doing the Fibro scan and we see that you have a fat in your liver, but you don't have any scarring on your liver, then we relax. You have a time to change your habits and everything can be reversed. But as soon as we see there is some scarring on your liver, and depends how severe is the scarring, sometimes we have to refer you to Royal Free, because they are more specialized in hepatitis in liver than we are. We're mostly dealing with fatty liver uncomplicated and the viral hepatitis like hepatitis C or hepatitis B. So then if someone doesn't stop and progress, then is the fibrosis, and then is cirrhosis. From fibrosis, you can always reverse it. That's not a problem. Cirrhosis, could be reversed as well, is very difficult because it's very difficult to change on habits. But once, even if you change your habits and you reverse cirrhosis to normal liver, your liver will be delicate to rest to your life, and you will need the follow-up to see if everything is fine. So why we care about the fatty liver and educate everyone? Because we need liver. Liver is doing 500 functions. I will just mention a few today, don't worry, not all of them. It's producing bile, which then process fat we're eating. Is synthesize cholesterol, which we very, very much needing. Is getting rid of all the poison and toxin, and that is very important function of the liver. Is changing our hormones, is producing some protein we really need, and helps absorbing vitamins, and then is changing glucose to glycogen. So basically change the sugar we're eating, and when you need in emergency, can release that. So liver is very, very important organs for us, and that's why protecting is very important. And just to say once again, like I mentioned before, the fat is inside liver cells, not around. If this will be around, that will be easier to deal with it, but that is inside liver cells. So how we diagnose? So to diagnose the liver, fatty liver, we can use a liver ultrasound, Fibro scan, MRI, and liver biopsy. So I'm sure some of you was diagnosed with us with fatty liver, and we never send you to liver biopsy because that is very invasive and we don't need that. This is just only when it's more advanced and we want to have a clear picture, but mostly we not sending people for liver biopsy because of fatty liver. The MRI, like Gaina was saying in the research study, was used and is a very good tool, but that will be not possible to doing for every patient. So we basically mostly doing liver ultrasound and Fibro scan. Mostly when we thinking that someone has a fatty liver is when the liver enzyme going up. And then we see that the weight is more or the alcohol consumption is more. Then we're starting with the Fibro scan. And if we see there is fatty liver on Fibro scan, the CAP score, which is, you can see now on the screen, if it's more than 238, that means fatty liver. So if that is the presentation, we then sending people for a liver ultrasound. Sometimes Fibro scan can miss fatty liver. And the reason for that is because we have to just put the probe in one point and then we scanning the liver. And sometimes fat in the liver is in the groups. So the screen can just not picking this up. So mostly we're trying to have a Fibro scan and liver ultrasound and to see if they're matching. Liver ultrasound gives us more information. It's telling us the shape of the liver, exactly when the fat is sitting, seeing any other organs and seeing if there is any problems. And how often do we repeat that? So if someone has a fatty liver on Fibro scan and liver ultrasound, we will do the Fibro scan yearly just to check if it's progressing or if someone is actively on diet and exercise, then we can see if that is reversing and do we see any progress. Liver ultrasound depends. If that is just only simple fatty liver and there was no scarring, we will continue just only with the Fibro scan. With the liver ultrasound, we will ask to repeat if someone has a fatty liver due to alcohol. And so if someone drinks a lot of alcohol, then we want to see if the damage will happening and we want to observe the liver and to see if everything is fine. Sometimes that can happen very quick. So saying quick, I mean like in a year time, we will see the changes. So that's why we're not doing anything so often because there is no need for that. The changes won't be seen so quickly. So how we managing fatty liver? Fatty liver, we're calling like NAFL mostly, or steatosis. So the best thing will be to doing 10,000 steps a day. So that means no one has to go to a gym if someone doesn't like. The 10,000 steps is enough. And that can be normal pace. Or if someone doesn't like to do it 10,000 steps, the alternative will be like 20 minutes brisk walk. That is just the 10,000 steps, the minimum. The best will be, of course, to do at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity, such as walking, cycling, a week. All type of exercise can help improve NAFL. Even if someone doesn't lose weight, that can still the activity improve the fat in the liver, making this reducing. So now the most important thing is a diet. So basically, your plate should be your two palms together, close together, like that, not like that. So half of the plate should be vegetables and will be the best if that is raw vegetables, no dressing, no oil. 1/4 carbs and 1/4 protein. And in the protein, this can be egg, fish, meat, and that can be even a red meat, but because the portion are very, very small. So that is not a problem. So there is no extra diet, and fat is very important for us anyway. So even though we say you have a fatty liver, you still should eat the healthy fat like avocados, fish, coconut, nuts, even eggs. They're very important. They have a lot of vitamins, and everything in moderation. If you follow how much you can eat, the portion size, and seeds, that is very good for your body. Like again, I said before, we will have a dietitian, so we will have even more possibility to send you there and you can discuss the better. The only one group of food you could, and the best you should avoid completely, is added refined sugar. So when we eat vegetables, fruits, pasta, and potatoes, they're having sugar, and that's fine. That is the healthy sugar. Our brain needs sugar, and that will be enough. All the added sugar is unnecessary, and that causes mostly to obesity, and that causes them to fatty liver. High fructose sugar is the worst and is added to ready meals, to drinks. So will be the best to avoid. And like honey is not good either. The healthy natural sugar alternatives, they're not good as well. The sweeteners, they're not good as well, because what they're doing, you eat and your body has this signal that the sugar is coming, but then the sugar is not coming and the insulin was already produced. So your body make you hungry, and then you will eat something else, not necessarily sugar, but you will eat more than normal because you have the signal in your body. So that is not good. And the worst is the sweet drinks like soda, all the sweet ones. They're even worse than, for instance, chocolate. If you will eat chocolate, you will feel that it's too sweet and you feel sick and you can't eat that much. Whereas with the drinks, very easily you can drink a lot. Juices, they're not good as well. Even homemade press, they're not good, because what you press, you just press the sugar, and that will be too much fructose, and that's not good for the liver. Fructose, especially the high fructose sugar syrup, is acting like alcohol in the liver, will be changed in the same way. So the sweet drinks and even juice, they're not good. The fresh fruits, they're fine, because with fresh fruits, you would not overeat. But we still recommend it to eat more fresh vegetables than fruits. 2-3 portions of fruits are fine, but not more, because if someone is trying to lose weight, because they have a lot of sugar as well. So that is just only that. You should aim to have a body mass index between 8.5 to 24.9. Waist measurements is sometimes very good as well. We're not doing this yet at Bloomsbury. We more rely on the weight. And losing more than 10% of your weight that reverse and improve the fatty liver. And I really could see that with the patient when they come and I diagnose them with fatty liver, then we're going through diet and everything, and that really reverse. But sad thing is when they come back to normal, putting on weight again, that the fatty liver will come back again. So that's the problem. Like if you want change, then you have to change it forever. The most upsetting message, in my opinion, is even if you eat healthy food, but you eat too much from it, you will put on weight or you will not lose weight. So that is very bitter because I try to be very healthy. Unfortunately, I really have to limit my portion. And if I eat too much, I will put on weight straight away. And I'm drinking only water and unsweetened tea all the time. And unfortunately, because if I eat too much from healthy stuff, I will put on weight. That's very, very bitter, but it is. So how else you can support your liver is stop smoking to don't impact anymore. Coffee is good for your liver because there is some some substance in the coffee which help the coffee to regenerate, like 2-3 cups a day. That's fine. So like I mentioned before, we will do yearly Fibro Scans to manage NAFL, to check if there is any improvement or is something worse. And if someone develop fatty liver and then scarring of the liver, we sometimes have to refer you to Royal Free just to get better look what could be done. And there is no drugs for fatty liver. However, sometimes we do give the drugs, and of course we're not specialized in that. That's why Royal Free, because they have a more experience on it, so they can do more stuff than we can do. So if someone has a alcoholic fatty liver disease, then of course the number one is to reduce the alcohol, or like ideal will be to stop. But sometimes we will tell you to don't stop alcohol. This depends how much you're drinking. If you drink plenty of units of alcohol a day, it will be dangerous to stop straight away. So we refer you to local services and then we ask you to reduce. And once that is, then you can safely stop. But we will guide you what to do and in which category you are. Can you stop straight away, or you have to do it this gradually? In all of that, first, when you have a fatty liver, like I say, nothing happened. You have just fat sitting there and the liver is functioning. Then when is the scarring, we checking how much and how much that impact your liver. If someone has a liver cirrhosis, this still is not bad news. We have to check if your liver can still function. So liver can be cirrhotic and still is functioning and doing this what should be doing. So this is what we assess sometimes. And if that is the case, that your liver is still working and everything is fine, then we still have a time to deal with this condition. If there is cirrhosis and your liver cannot function normal anymore, then we will refer you to Royal Free, and then they will see what they can do. They will manage. So every patient is different, and every from you will get different advice. This depends on your condition. We're looking all the build. How is your liver function? Is elevated or is not elevated? What is your weight? How likely you are lose weight? How likely you are to stop alcohol? And then big change now in Bloomsbury is I was doing the Fibro Scan now for 4 years or maybe longer. Now I will just do it Fibro Scan in my hepatitis clinic, viral hepatitis. The 3 other clinics, they will be done by healthcare support worker. They are not allowed to interpret the results. So they can't say that because they don't have this expertise. The results, if you have now a liver scarring, yes or no, depends on your condition. depends on a lot of stuff, and they are not able and they don't have the knowledge to assess that. They can maybe say, oh yes, it's fatty liver or not, but with the fibrosis, it depends on a lot of another factors, and they not able to access that. So if you go now for the Fibro scan and they say to you, I cannot interpret for you, don't be scared. It doesn't mean that something is going on. It's just basically they're not allowed to do that. So what will happen? Then senior people like me or my colleagues, we will check the results, interpret them, and this person who sent you for the Fibro scan will then call you and explain you what that means and what has to be done. That is just new change in that. And be aware as well, very, very rare, but it does happen when you will come for your Fibro scan, 1% of people or less, we will be not able to get reading. And that is just the machine, and is basically the structure of your body will make for us impossible to get the readings. And there is nothing to worry about it. In that situation, we have this liver ultrasound anyway, and the liver ultrasound gives us a lot of information. So the ultrasound and the Fibro scan, they working together. So basically the liver ultrasound can tell us that there is a fat in the liver, and then can say there is some scarring, but cannot say how much. The ultrasound can tell us about another organs and blood flow and everything, which is very important information as well. The Fibro scan is just saying how much fat you have in the liver. That gives us number, and how stiff is your liver. So basically, there is always stiffness needed, because if you will have a jelly liver, then that cannot work. And then from 238 starts the fatty liver onwards, and this is how we can then assess that. So basically, they are both needed for us to assess your liver better, and to assess your condition, and to know where you are or where will be the next step. So just to begin, we're trying to do both liver ultrasound and Fibro scan, and then we decide which one is the most needed and appropriate. Like I mentioned before, if someone has an alcohol problem and is drinking a lot of alcohol, we will repeat the ultrasound as well, not only the Fibro scan. But that always depends individually from one person to another, okay? So this is how every from you will get a little different advice and little different plan. So that was from my presentation. I was very happy to talking to you. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer it.
Thank you, Agnes. That is absolutely fascinating. We do have some questions now, so I've got a couple. Actually, I've got one from me before we start, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I think it might overlap with a couple of things that other people have said as well. I was wondering, so as patients of Bloomsbury Network, is this something that we need to worry about ourselves, or is it something that we are already getting checked for as part of our regular bloods? Is it something that's already covered by that, and we would only go into the processes that you've been talking about if it gets flagged up, or is it something that we should be talking about individually if we feel we may have some concerns?
So basically what we're doing now is if someone has a raised liver enzyme, this is when we refer people to do the Fibro scan. And we think that will be beneficial for someone who doesn't have a raised liver enzyme when they putting on weight. We should do this as well. We're trying to develop that, but that is not so easy at the moment. We're in discussion. So ideal will be that every patient in Bloomsbury has a Fibro scan as a baseline. And then we can decide, is this something needed or not? We're thinking about it, but there is always the problem with the funding. So we're not sure that this will happen, but we could, in my opinion, and we will try to do that if someone, not only the people with raised liver function, we would ideally find people who are putting on weight, like the BMI is very high or the belly is very sticky, so to check if there is something going, or like when you see that diabetes and you have a high blood pressure as well, with a high weight, that together. But at the moment, that is everything just planning. We don't know if that will happen in some point.
Thank you. So at the moment, these are things that are most likely to be picked up by the other tests that we have, and we don't.
Blood test, yeah. So the blood test, when you go for your regular blood test, we always checking the liver, and when the liver going up, then when we will then ask you to come back to repeat it, or then maybe sometimes we decide straight away to do the Fibro scan. Yes, this is what we're doing.
Thank you. That's really, I think that's really comforting, because obviously this is such an important subject, and what we don't want people to do is worry unduly. But we can put our faith and our trust into our practitioners at Bloomsbury. That's good to know. That, I think,
absolutely
answers the first question there. The second question in the chat is, how do I get a test for diabetes? Is that something that can be done with Bloomsbury, or do we need to go somewhere else for that?
So this is what we're doing every 2 years from the age of 40, because there is some statistics saying before 40 there is no danger to have a diabetes unless someone is very obese. Then we will check this before, but normally we're doing every 2 years. We're checking for the diabetes, and when there is something alarming, then we will refer you to GP and they will follow them.
Thank you for that. Here's one. I don't know if you have the personal knowledge of this particular case, but the question is, why was fatty liver mentioned in the George Michael autopsy? Is it what killed him, and how did it contribute to his death? Do you have any particular?
Yes, I heard about that. Someone was telling me that he died from the fatty liver, but I don't know exactly what was that everything. I don't know the case. What I can only think that he had the fatty liver, then he got the inflammation, and maybe that was due to alcohol. I really don't know if he was drinking or not. And then he developed probably the cirrhosis, and then if you don't stop your behavior, then your liver stops to working. But that is not that quick process. Okay, it's like when you drink a lot of alcohol, yes, you can speed it up, but when you put on weight and you're drinking a little too much, that is not going in 1 day or a month. Sometimes you need a years to develop that. Okay, but if someone will heavily drink, like, I don't know, a bottle of vodka or 2 every day for 3 months, you can go to liver cirrhosis very quickly, and to fatty liver, and then to liver cirrhosis, and then that could be then dangerous. And of course, if you drink, it's very difficult sometimes to stop. The same like with the food. When you're obese, it's sometimes very difficult to stop eating. So some patient we have to refer to UCLH, and they will get stomach band to help them to lose weight.
I've got one question about that, about where the referrals are. Is it to UCL and Royal Free, or are they two different cases will go to different places?
2 different cases. So if someone is obese and have a fatty liver, we will send them to UCLH to discuss if they need like operation, like stomach band or something like that, to help them to lose weight if they cannot do it on its own, if they cannot do it with diet and exercise. And then if someone develop a fatty liver and cirrhosis or fibrosis, then we will send them to Royal Free, to the hepatology team, because they are more specialized. So there is like 2 different problems why is this there.
That makes perfect sense. The next question is, obviously BMI is being used as an indicator here, but there are indications that some people who have a very large muscular bodies, if they're bodybuilders, that BMI might not be the most accurate indication of the same sorts of issues. Are measures being taken to measure the muscle percentage on the body as well in those sorts of instances? I'm assuming that it's not just the BMI that's being taken into account anyway, but are there steps taken to sort of be a bit more flexible about that in certain people's cases?
That is very good point. So basically, we just rely now on the BMI. We're not doing even the waist measurements. And yes, that is not 100% accurate. So when I was doing the Fibro scans before, I could see you like patients, and then I could assess, like where it sits and what is the muscles or is the fat. Now we don't have that, but we have another like parameters in the blood where we can see that more is the fatty liver or not. So so basically your triglycerides, part of cholesterol, if that is raised, we will think that could be indication that it's fatty liver. So if the blood pressure is high, then you will think about that as well. So we're looking on a lot of factors, and we like building pictures together.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
And then we have a like conversation with you as well about your habit, how much you eat, drink, and that together give us a picture.
Yes, it's good to know. So it's not just one thing, it's
No.
a whole combination of factors. Got time for just one more question, I think, before we have to move on to Victoria. Does fatty liver cause any problems with the HIV medications? I know in some cases the HIV medications can cause it, but can it work the other way round as well?
No, actually not. Unless someone has a liver cirrhosis due to fatty liver, and then the liver is not function anymore, then maybe the dose or something has to be adjusted. But that is royal free. They specialize in that, and they can make a decision. But we in Bloomsbury are very good to avoid that step. We mostly find people before cirrhosis or even fibrosis, so we have enough time to reverse it, to do it, so we not let you go to royal free.
We just had one person who's just squeaked in. Can non-drinking vegans/vegetarians have fatty liver?
Absolutely, because vegan diet is not so healthy like people think. Vegan diet can be very quickly unhealthy if you don't be careful, because you can eat a lot of processed food like the crackers and cakes, and there is a lot of sugar as well, and you have plenty of carbs there. And carbs and sugar, you can, and not sometimes if you don't care for, you don't get enough proteins, and that's why you will overeat and you will put on weight. So we have a lot of people, not a lot of, but we have some people, they are vegan and they obese and they going to fatty liver.
That's fascinating. So, because of course people think that that's going to be a very non-fat diet. It's not necessarily the case. So there's no one answer, I think, is what we're trying to say. It's about looking at the foods you eat on a case-by-case study, not just saying, well, I only eat this kind of stuff, because that's just not going to be the whole picture.
Yeah. So the meat is not that bad, but everything in moderation. It's about the protein. Protein, they are very good to maintain a feeling that you are full and you're not so hungry. But everywhere is the moderation. You cannot have too much protein, you cannot much carbs. The balance, we have to always find the balance.
That's true of so many things in life. Everything in moderation and everything is balanced. Thank you so much. That's really, really.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to hurry you off, but we need to move on to
no worries.
Today.
Pleasure.
You're sticking around, but it's been wonderful talking to you. Fascinating, really, really insightful. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'd like now to talk to our second panelist this evening, which is Victoria Brown. Now, Victoria, for those of you who don't know, has been working volunteering for the YMCA Club since 2008, and just over 10 years ago, she was given the role of coordinator for the Positive Health Group program at the gym. The Positive Health program is a dedicated exercise referral scheme for those living with HIV, designed to improve individuals' fitness, self-esteem and quality of life. And I know Victoria has been very, very active with the Bloomsbury Network in the past, so it's our very great pleasure to welcome you back, this time on Zoom. Hopefully next time we'll be able to see each other in person again. And without further ado, I hand straight over to you.
Yeah, I have to say I'm missing the fact that the guilty looks of some people that should have been in the gym and they're not there. Normally, that's what I get when I come to Bloomsbury. Everyone sort of looks at me with horror. Oh no, you're here. So yeah, no. So it's hopefully next time we can be in the room and you can all tell me why you haven't been to the gym. But I'm going to share my screen and I'll get on with my presentation because I know that it's getting a little bit late. So let's hope it works. Fingers crossed. There we are. There we go. So hopefully, can you see that? I'm going to say yes. Okay. So, I mean, obviously I'm here primarily from an exercise point. Yes.
I can't see the screen at the moment, I'm afraid.
Okay. Let me have another go. Okay. Share. Yeah. Let's have a look. Oh, that's because I didn't start your broadcast. I need to start my broadcast. I always forget when I'm on my iPad that I have to start my broadcast. So, okay, let's go again. There.
Yes, we can see you perfectly now. Off you go.
Wonderful. Okay, so yeah, obviously I'm coming from primarily an exercise background, and that's what I do. I mean, work in a gym, and obviously I've been working on the Positive Health program for it's 11 years now, actually. So yeah, so I'm going to look at the type of things that you can be doing to sort of help with fatty liver. But I will touch on diet at the end, because I know that they originally wanted I have a nutritionist that works actually for our program, but he's not back with me till the beginning of August. So I will definitely touch on diet as well, because I think the two things go hand in hand. Whenever I talk to anybody about exercise, I will always talk to them about diet anyway. So ideally today, I'm just going to sort of whiz through why exercise is important. And obviously I know that Agnes has touched on quite a few of these points anyway, but I'll sort of go over it. So why is it important for people with fatty liver disease, or if you're trying to prevent it? What sort of type of exercises can you do? How much do you need to do? How maybe you can sort of start? And I know that we were talking about, again, maybe post lockdown, hopefully finished for good. Getting back maybe to exercise, or starting to exercise, can be quite difficult. So sort of things, how you can get started. And then I will look at sort of the maybe how you can eat a balanced diet, and a little bit of guide for weight management as well. I have lovely new slides they've given me at work with these lovely new pictures of people exercising. So, and some of these are actually, quite a few of them are actually here, and some of them are up at YMCA. So they are actually they're showcasing my gym as we talk. So how important is it to exercise for people with NFL fatigue? And I've done a little bit of research on it, and as I know that Agnes was talking about, it can be an incredibly important part of it. And lots of studies have recently shown that exercise can actually have just a bigger impact on fatty liver disease than weight loss alone. So they did some studies. The first one was at Trinity College, where they put people that were being treated for fatty liver. They just didn't tell them to actually necessarily lose weight, but they obviously told them they had to do a 12-week exercise program, a little bit like we do here. And the impact of that was quite big, although they didn't necessarily lose weight. So the actual impact on their liver was quite substantial, and that's partly obviously because you're sort of you may not lose weight, but you may gain muscle. So that's what you were just talking again about BMI not always being totally correct on how much fat you've necessarily got. So there's definitely that impact. And obviously exercise can also improves insulin sensitivity and improves your fatty acid metabolism, which those things are key to fatty liver disease. So I think exercise in itself can actually have some key sort of facts that it can work on. Obviously, hopefully, if you are overweight or you're obese and you start to do some exercise, it will help with weight loss. So there is also that side that, that's why exercise is so important. And I think there's one thing that, we look at with exercise, and I recently did a whole presentation on exercise and stress and anxiety, but it can have a very, very big impact on people's stress, anxiety, depression. And if we're looking at perhaps where people are now coming out from a period of being on their own for a long time, it can help to maybe break that pattern of like maybe comfort eating or comfort drinking. So giving you something to do for yourself, making you feel better about yourself, improving your sort of sense of well-being. So it is important on sort of lots of levels, exercise. So definitely getting exercise activity into your life can be really, really important to either prevent or to help improve your fatty liver. And as I think Agnes was so clearly saying, so if you get diagnosed quite early, it's easy, there is things you can do. So introducing exercise can be really sort of important. So what type of exercise? And this is something that we always sort of look at, different types of exercise people always talk about will be, should you be doing aerobic exercise? Should you be doing strength training? And really exercise as well. People tend to have a bit of a thing that this has got to be in a gym environment. It's got to involve, getting very hot, sweaty. Not necessarily so. If you're looking at sort of benefits of exercise on fatty liver, then ideally both aerobic and strength exercises are important. So both of them. So cardiovascular exercise, we're looking, obviously it's very, very good for that sort of release of endorphins and weight loss. And you've got tons of easy options. This is why cardiovascular exercise tends to be so good, CV exercise. So everything from walking, cycling, swimming, dancing, gardening, DIY, Zumba classes, whatever it might be, all those things are going to be very good at helping you to maybe lose weight if you need to, but more importantly to give you sort of that sense of well-being. And they will obviously help you, you know, even those sort of exercises that I know we don't necessarily deem them to be strength exercises. If, for example, you're cycling, you're going to be building muscle as well. On the same hand, we obviously muscle strengthening exercises. People often think that if they need to lose weight, the only thing they should be doing is aerobic CV exercise, and that's not the case either. Ideally, you should be getting strength training activities in. Now, this is also important for your, you know, whole quality of life in general. But the more lean muscle you have, the easier it is for you to actually lose weight. So we're always looking at trying to gain as much muscle as you can. So, you know, that could be, for example, you actually doing like body weight exercises. So if you're at home, so things like sit to stand, press ups, squats, or it could be like in a gym using actual weights. Or as I said, it could be, you know, that you're actually going to do strengthening exercise, like doing a lot of cycling will obviously help with your muscle strength in your legs. So they are both actually quite important. We normally would say that obviously you need to do, we'll talk a little bit about how much you need to do, but CV exercise or cardiovascular exercise is normally more, whereas muscle strength, we're normally saying to you, try and do that at least twice a week. So as you come down, I've actually put on obviously yoga, Tai Chi, stretch classes, those type of classes. So anything that, again, it's not deemed to necessarily be, people always say, well, that's not really going to help me lose weight. Well, sometimes some yoga classes actually are very tough, so they could definitely help you lose weight. But I think those are the type of exercises that they can help, again, reduce stress and anxiety and give you sort of a calmer feeling, definitely help you sleep better. And, you know, those type of things are very, very good if you're trying to sort of, if you are trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to sort of get in a better place to maybe, you know, stop drinking or whatever it might be, stop smoking. And this type of exercise can be very good for that. So don't discount doing these type of exercises because you think, oh, I need to lose weight, because you know, even if you do something like a yoga class once a week, it really can help with your mental health as well. And what I would definitely say is try to mix up exercises. So it doesn't have to be only one thing. It can be a mix of CV exercise, it can be a mix of muscle strength exercising and your sort of your yoga, Tai Chi classes. And definitely varying things helps that you don't get bored. So all of these types of exercises, they'll all benefit you doing your fatty liver, definitely, and if you need to lose weight. So how much should you be doing? So this is, you know, again, I think Agnes had quite a nice slide and she showed you sort of what in an ideal world, the 10,000 steps and the 150 minutes a week. But what I would say is if you haven't been doing anything, and obviously we're seeing people coming back to the gym now that may have not been in the gym for, I don't know, 17, 18 months or even longer. Or if you're brand new to exercise, you haven't done anything, even a little bit of exercise will start to make a difference. So especially if you're new or you haven't done it for a long time, anything you do will start to impact on your fitness levels and your health. So, for example, the 150 minutes, which is the sort of NHS guidelines, which we all try to keep to, which is our 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 times a week, which can obviously be broken down in 10-minute slots. So you could do 10 minutes walking in the morning, 10-minute walking at lunchtime, 10 minutes walking in the evening. And you could do that 5 days a week. So that is what we are ideally aiming for. But if you can't get there at the moment, or you are, you know, in a place where you've had an injury or something's wrong at the moment, even doing 5 to 10 minutes every day could start to make an impact on your health and definitely sort of fatty liver. So it's important to have maybe that goal in mind where we want to be, you know, 150 minutes or more, definitely, if you want to do more. Never say never. I never say don't do any more. But even doing sort of 5 to 10 minutes, if you're currently doing nothing, could definitely make an impact. The most important thing I would say is not necessarily, especially at the start, on how much you do, but trying to do it regularly. The hardest thing about exercise is getting into a habit and then sticking to it, because it is pointless, really. We see this a lot. I see this a lot in January, normally in gyms, where people come in and they throw themselves into it. They do, you know, 2 classes a day, 4 days a week, and they do it for a month, and then by the middle of February they're just gone, burn themselves out, no more, which is not particularly helpful. The idea is that if you're going to exercise, and the importance of exercise for everybody, and if, you know, as soon as we start looking at, you know, having maybe more than one health condition, so, you know, if you're living with HIV, plus then you might have fatty liver, plus we're looking at, you might have high blood pressure, plus you might have high cholesterol. The idea is that this exercise needs to be an important part of your life forever. So getting into a regular habit is more important. So even if you said every day I'm going to do 5 minutes walking, that would be a really good starting point. And then you can start to add some minutes to it. So rather than thinking, you know, I have to go straight in at my 30 minutes, it's starting slow and then adding to it. So it's the same example if you really wanted to do, you know, resistance exercises. You might come in and decide that you're only going to do, I don't know, 1 set of 10 of 3 exercises. And then next week you're going to do, you know, maybe 4 exercises. And then a month down the line, you'll do 2 sets. So it's adding things gradually that helps you get into the habit. We obviously see it a lot here, the lovely no pain, no gain, you know, that you should feel uncomfortable, that you should be, you know, out of breath, sweating. It isn't the right mantra if you're trying to start exercise and you need some help with it. Moderate exercise, yes, you should be breathing heavier than normal. That's what we want. You want you to start using your body, so they're not just strolling around a shop. You know, you need to be, if you're going to go out walking, you need to be breathing heavier than normal. But it doesn't mean that you're out of breath. And, you know, you should be starting to feel warm. If you were exercising today, you'll be feeling very warm. My face is like a beetroot today from doing not even that much exercise. But it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be sweating loads. You know, if you go out for a walk with a friend and you're both walking quite briskly, you should still be able to hold a conversation, and that is your moderate exercise. So, and that again is far more important than like throwing yourself in, doing something that really hurts you, and the next day you can't walk, and the day after you can't walk, and you maybe injure yourself for 2 weeks. So how much to do? Yes, we do have those nice guidelines of where we want to get to, and again, you can do more than those. But starting somewhere and starting slowly is very important. Now, I'll put the next slide on just to cheer everybody up for the evening, because this is our lifeguard, Warren. So I told him he'll be on my slideshow today. There he is. Isn't it? So cheers everybody up. I always think having Warren in a slide. So, you know, this is a very wordy slide, so I'm going to whiz through it. But these are some of the common obstacles that I see that may stop you exercising. So again, you know, if we're looking at now, I think it's a key part where people have, their routines have been thrown out, even if they used to come to the gym, even if they used to regularly do, I don't know, football on a Saturday morning or go for a walk on a Sunday, whatever it might be. Getting back into it can feel quite, you know, quite sort of scary. So, and you know, again, there's lots of other reasons why. And I know that right at the beginning, Gaynor was talking about feeling overwhelmed, and we have had that quite a lot. You know, it can feel a bit like, oh dear, going back into doing exercise again. So one of the key things that people will say to me is like, I'm too tired to exercise. Now, look, we have very busy lives. We've been talking about that as well. You know, very busy lives, lots going on, and you feel too tired to exercise. So, you know, every study that you ever look at about exercise will tell you that exercise reduces fatigue and it increases your energy levels. So it's one of these things where you almost have to get your mind over it. Yes, if you feel tired and you don't have any energy, even doing a tiny bit of exercise can make you feel better. So if you're feeling really exhausted and your idea was to go out for, I don't know, a walk after work or something, and you're feeling tired, just say to yourself, I'm going to go out for 5 minutes. I'm not going to do a full half an hour. I was going to do a full half an hour, but I can't. I'm only going to do 5 minutes. Once you're out, normally 5 minutes turns to 10 minutes, turns to 15 minutes, because you start to get that boost of energy levels, which exercise will give you. So again, if you can, you know, sometimes the hardest part is getting into the gym or getting to do exercise. Once you're there, it's actually not a problem at all. So it's almost like trying to trick yourself into saying, I'm only going to do a little tiny bit just to make myself feel a bit better. And what normally happens is you can do more. And even if you can't, you've done your 5 minutes for the day. So that then makes you feel better as well. So definitely feeling tired is one thing that, unless, you know, okay, you do have to listen to your body, is very important, but often just trying to do 5 minutes of something will help, and you'll start to feel better from it. Feeling overwhelmed, and you know, and I do think that sometimes if you're trying to do exercise or get back into exercise, again, we've all got a lot going on, and you already feel like you've got a very busy schedule. How on earth are you actually, you know, going to start, you know, getting this in? And again, that's where breaking down exercise can really help. So rather than thinking, you know, I've got to do my 30 minutes and I haven't got any time, you know, starting with just 5 minutes and think, right, okay, I can fit that in. And then I think you need to start really thinking about exercise being a priority, and how important it is to your health and your mental health that you do some exercise, because we can almost say to ourselves, you know, we still have 24 hours each day, you know, and how many days in a week, that if it's a priority for you, then you can fit that in so many times each week. You know, so it's where feeling overwhelmed is about maybe being a little bit organized. I always say to people when they come here, you need to start, you almost need to think on a Saturday, okay, how am I going to try and exercise next week? So that you can start to fit it into your schedule without it being like it's got to Wednesday and you now have to fit 5 days of exercise in or 4 days of exercise in. How are you going to do it? So that little bit of organization and help that can just, and again, thinking that you can just do small amounts here and there can help you feel with that sort of overwhelmingness. Feeling pain, and I do see this, you know, we obviously have people that they have had injuries, or actually doing exercise can sometimes, when you first start, can feel painful. And how do you get over that? And this is where I sell myself, because obviously you come see me and then I start you nice and slowly, and we give you suitable exercises to do or classes that you can do. And then you're lucky enough, if you're at Bloomsbury, that we're just down the road from you, and you come to our 12-week program. But if not, you know, finding a class or a gym that's near you that's a suitable class is really important. Obviously, if you have had an injury or something that you need to get a doctor's guidance to start exercising, that's fine, you can get that. And then but then doctors can normally advise you on maybe places where you can go, specialists you can sort of talk to actually get a bit of help. But finding, you know, maybe you can find sort of a beginner Zumba class, or you know, just starting things like nice, like short sessions of walking or a little bit of cycling. So I'm going to sleep, or my iPad's going to sleep anyway. So feeling pain, just finding ways to exercise safely is quite important. I've got one here that I have seen, we've seen this quite a lot recently, people feeling sort of negative about themselves and about starting exercise. They may have put on weight over lockdown. Nearly everybody that I've seen has definitely put on a couple of, you know, a pound or two or a couple of kilos. And, you know, going back into it, even if you're coming back to exercise, you may not be where you were a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, there's this horrible thing about exercise. You know, it takes you ages to build up your stamina, and ages to build up your muscle, and ages to build up your, you know, your physical health and your ability to run or your ability to cycle. And you can reversibility, it goes away very quickly. So I have to, you know, everybody is currently in that same boat. So don't beat yourself up if you used to be able to run a 5K in, you know, 25 minutes and now you can't. Exercise is about building up again, building up slowly, and, you know, setting yourself nice sort of simple goals to start with. So rather than setting yourself like, I want to be able to, you know, I need to be back lifting 40 kilos or whatever it is, starting with small goals. And don't be hard on yourself when you first start back. You have to feel like, you know, that, yeah, you have got everyone's got progression to make, but it is about making progress. And the last thing is really about no time. People often say to me, I've got, you know, no time. We have talked about this quite a lot, but, you know, definitely use your 7 days a week. You know, you can make longer than that if you want, but definitely use the 7 days. So don't think your 5 days has to fit in Monday to Friday, especially if you work those days. You know, you can do a little bit of the weekends as well. So, you know, it's about squeezing it in where you are. And I think I'll talk about this later, but maybe there's definitely a thing about, you know, trying to squeeze it in around exercise can be fitted in around your, you know, where you work and how you do it. Like, for example, you know, walking to work or walking an extra bus stop. I think there's a little bit about that later. So squeezing in exercise, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, making sure that you have got that little bit of time. So how do you get started if you haven't got started? And, you know, we've seen how important it is. So how do we get started? So I say, start small. Don't set huge goals, set small achievable goals. Because once you achieve them, then you can move on. It's pointless saying you want to run a marathon, you know, in a month's time if you've never run before. You know, rather than just saying, actually, this week I'm going to try and do, you know, I'm going to try and exercise 4 times this week, or I'm going to just try and start a yoga class this week. So small goals that you can actually achieve. Definitely find the best time when you can exercise. Some people are morning people, some people are afternoon people, sometimes people are evening people. when you are at your best, try to slot your exercises in, because it's definitely more helpful. If you hate the thought of after work going to the gym, try and think, okay, maybe I'll try and do something at lunchtime. Because if you're dreading it and dreading it all day, you probably won't go. Whereas if you've got it over and done with, it might feel a lot better. Some people, though, hate exercising in the morning and they only like exercising in the evening. Definitely find something you enjoy. If you find something you enjoy, you're far more likely to stick to it. And again, as we said, that habit is so important in getting into a routine. So if you like sports, like playing badminton or tennis and that sort of thing you really enjoy doing, that's, find somewhere to do that. If you love the gym, come to the gym. If you love gardening, walking, dancing, but whatever it is, if you enjoy going to it, although sometimes it still is a struggle, you are more likely to stick to it. Definitely be comfortable in what you wear and where you go. And I say this because, lots of gyms, people feel very uncomfortable in. Our gym is not like that, by the way. Our gym is very comfortable to be in. But find a space where you like, and if you like exercising at home, there's so much stuff now. You can do exercise at home. If you like going and exercising outside, exercise outside. But wear clothes you feel comfortable. Don't think you have to wear what everybody else is wearing, like or whatever. Be comfortable, especially if you're getting started, and hopefully that will help you just get over those first few where you feel a bit awkward and it doesn't feel natural. And definitely make it social. I would say if you're struggling, then agree to meet a friend or join a group and say your family, if you want to exercise with your family, because if you've agreed to sort of tell people that you said, I'm going to meet you at 11 o'clock in the park to go for a walk, you're far more likely to turn up and do it than if you've just said, I'm going to go for a walk at 11 o'clock. Also, the social interaction will definitely help your mood and help you sort of stick to it, because it becomes like a fun activity rather than something you sort of hate, don't really want to do. And this is why classes are very unpopular. We see it here. Classes are super. When the classes came back here, it was like, everyone was very excited, because you feel like you're sort of in a group situation, you meet some people that you get told what to do, and it's a bit of fun because there's normally some music going on. So finding sort of that again, there are people here that just love to be in their own little space and just, and that's definitely true. If you want to have the gym and it's your space, you don't want to talk to anybody, fine, do that. Go out for a walk and don't want to talk to anybody, but it can help to make it social. And this is the bit of making every part of your life, which I was talking about earlier. So, for example, you're trying to make those 10,000 steps, walking to work, get off a bus stop earlier, walk during your lunch breaks. If you can take a meeting on a phone call, take a meeting on a phone call and walk around. Using stairs rather than lifts or escalators. Doing housework, I always put that in just for fun. Who likes doing housework? Nobody. I saw an excellent example of this the other day outside the gym here. There's a bus stop where the buses wait before they go off. And a bus driver had a skipping rope. And while he was waiting for his turn to obviously drive, he got out his skipping rope and he skipped on the pavement. And I should have gone and said something to him, because it was a wonderful example of how you can just get a little bit of exercise in during the day, which is normally for him, probably, he spends a lot of time seated, which we don't really want. This is my point. If I was now in your lovely room, I'd make you stand up and do some sits and stands. So we moved a little bit. But definitely trying to get exercise in during your day, make it a part of your life. It really, really helps.
Victoria, just for a second, because we're running very, very short of time. Can you wrap up very quickly with what you've got to say before we move on to some questions?
Yeah, sure. I'll whiz through nutrition then. There we go. Exercise is done. Tick, done. Basically, I know that Agnes spoke quite a lot about it. So I will just, she was sort of saying about how, obviously maintaining a healthy weight and healthy and a balanced diet. And I think she had a very similar picture. This is the Eat Well guide, which you can find anywhere. And it is about losing weight, but it's obviously definitely about eating well. So yes, we do want you to sort of, but again, we don't necessarily want you to think about, I'm going to cut things out of my food groups. I'm not going to, it's about trying to eat from your 5 food groups, which are here, the big ones, definitely lots of fruit and veg. You can have carbs, but trying to eat maybe sort of whole grain options or brown options. Again, your protein that you definitely need, meat, fish, eggs, beans, and it can be like less processed meat, definitely less regular ribs. Sorry about your sausages, but those things need to be in your diet. Milk and dairy, could be dairy alternatives, could be like soya, but getting all these things in. And then there's obviously there is still that section, as I think Agnes was saying as well, for fats, because you do need fat in your diet, but it should try and become unsaturated fats, using in very sort of small amounts, rather than using, you know, lots and trying not to have that sort of processed foods. You know, often over in that little corner it says, you know, eat less and eat small amounts, and they are your processed foods and your high sugary foods. And this is where I think carbs get a very bad sort of, you know, press, because people say, oh, you shouldn't eat carbs. You can definitely eat carbs, because there's carbs in lots and lots of very healthy foods, but eating things like processed foods and high sugary foods, that's what we really want to be, you know, cutting down. But it's not just about losing weight, though. Obviously, if you need to lose weight, then looking at exactly what your portion size is going to be very, very important. But it's about eating well, and definitely avoiding foods high in fat, high in sugar, and drinking plenty of water. So I'm whizzing now. So this is like a little bit of, you want a bit of help with actually weight management. So it could be weight loss, but it could just be, you know, trying to look at sort of, you know, managing your weight. Gradual weight loss is definitely where you want to be. Nothing that makes you lose weight very, very, very quickly. Extreme sort of diets, because normally what happens is you just put it back on again. So it's, you know, they recommend is sort of 0.5 kilogram a week, or 10 kilograms over 6 months. I mean, sometimes naturally, if you start to do a lot of exercise, you'll lose more than that, but that is effective weight loss, so that it will stay off. Definitely watch your portion size, so how much you're eating. So it's not necessarily all about what things you're eating, but how much you're eating. The reason, again, why carbs tend to get a bad press is because we like them and we eat a lot of them. You know, most people's portion of pasta is 100 grams, and it should be nowhere near that. I'm married to an Italian, so I know this. Using smaller plates, so making sure that you've got a smaller plate so that you're not eating as much. Definitely, if you want to manage your weight, write down what you eat, and write down everything you eat, so you can sort of see when you've had good days, bad days, and what sort of things you need to sort of have, where you need to sort of work on, and track your progress. That doesn't mean weighing yourself every week, because that's definitely not very helpful, but things that taking maybe a waist measurement at the beginning, so that you know where you sort of your waist measurement can really help, and then take it a little bit longer down the line.
Just there, I'm afraid. I know I could
okay.
Absolutely all night. I really, really could. The information is so fascinating, and your presentation is brilliant. But we do have a couple of questions which I would like to get in a few minutes before we wrap up. If someone is exercising a lot and not seeing the benefit of the weight loss that they would like to see, do you have any quick tips for them to what they're doing? There's people who are running 4K every day on a treadmill and sweating buckets, but not really getting the weight loss on the belly that they'd like to see.
Okay, so it could be what they're eating. And as I said right at the beginning, they go hand in hand. So unfortunately, a lot of people, and especially runners, tend to find that because they think they're running, so they're running a lot, they tend to then eat what they like. And often it's not sort of correlation. Could also mean that you're doing a lot of CV work, but you've not got enough muscle, so you need to build a bit more muscle as well. So that's often where people go wrong with, they feel like they're running really hard, but then they eat too much and they don't do enough muscle work as well. So it's very brief, but that's what I would say. Definitely look at those things. That
probably ties into the next question. Someone gets after kickboxing class. Any suggestions on how to reduce cravings after heavy exercise so you don't undo all the good work?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having something ready, which is a good, I would have gone to a little bit of snacking, because snacking is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just we tend to, when we're like that, you're hungry, you're starving, you end up like picking for something that's not great. Have something ready for afterwards. Ideally, it has some carbs, ideally it has some proteins in. So it could be something, as simple as having like a peanut butter bagel, so that you finish, and you are starving hungry, but you have something that's healthy, rather than having, and then eating too much, because that's what tends to happen. You're starving hungry, and then before your brain has the chance to tell you actually you're full up. So being prepared is definitely key.
It's far from the snack machine, isn't it? If you don't have something with you. Yeah, that's a good tip. And the last question here is, how safe are the gyms at the moment with COVID-19?
Okay, in fact, one of the safest places you can be, because I think they did some studies, and the number of cases caught in gyms is like absolutely minor, because the cleaning at the moment is absolutely, I mean, it's just this week, obviously we've just changed to social distancing has just stopped. Up until this point, we've had social distancing everywhere, but still the machines are being cleaned down, everything, and actually they're still relatively quiet, because lots of people have not got back to their sort of routine. Again, I'm a little bit like Gaynor, the spin studios, all the classes have still been kept. They're not full at the moment, so that sort of whole breathing over people is not happening at the moment. So they are, we've had, you know, the cases here have been minimal, nothing.
That's amazing. Thank you so, so much. Victoria, we must have you back. We must have you back for a time where we can give you all the time in the world, because this stuff is something that we can't ever get enough of, I think. We can't be reminded often enough. It sounds very much, when you talk to me, it sounds like so much common sense, but it's the stuff that we sort of talk ourselves out of all the time. I love the fact that you were talking about doing a little bit rather than trying to do loads and loads and loads, and trying to bust a gut doing this is so much more effective if you're starting out. Not beating yourself up about it, and about the difference between the good foods and the bad foods, and how we can work all this together. It's fascinating stuff. Thank you so, so much. To everybody else, I know we're right on time now, so I do want to wrap up. Here in the chat, I'm putting the link to the National Food Strategy that Gaynor was talking about at the beginning of the session. I'm also going to add our email address because we are looking at a new type of survey today, which I'm hoping will reach you, but I don't have a great deal of hope for it. So if anybody wants to contact us with any feedback about tonight, and I really, really hope you do. We want to hear anything from you, whether you enjoyed this Zoom format, whether you felt it was useful and beneficial to you as a Bloomsbury patient or a Bloomsbury network user, what we can do in the future, and if you've got any ideas for how we can improve our services, we are all ears. I'm hoping there will be a survey coming to you as soon as we close this down, but if not, we'll do a different session, a different type of session next week for that, for the feedback. Thank you so much, everybody. This, I hope you'll agree, has been a really important way out of lockdown for us. Victoria Jeffrey is asking, may we have a copy of your slides, please?
You may.
We'll try and get that, but can we put that up on our website? If we can, then brilliant. We'll put a link to that on our website, or we'll link to your website where people can see it. We'll get that organized for you so that people can see it, because there's so much fabulous information in there. Thank you once again for everybody for attending. Please do get in touch with us. If the survey reaches you, do it, please. And if it doesn't, please send us an email. And our newsletter will be coming out very soon with more links and stuff. So we are all about staying in touch with you. Again, thank you to our panelists, to Victoria Brown from the gym, and thank you to Agnes Kemper for from Bloomsbury Network. I'm wrapping up as hopelessly quickly as I can, because I want to get out of here before we all run over time too horribly. Once again, thank you very, very much. We'll be with you in 2 months' time for another forum with another fascinating topic, no doubt. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.